Hello, everyone. It is Darth Keck, and welcome back to my channel. Today, Hearthstone Battlegrounds released a 29.2.2 patch. A lot of updates that were featured. They teased it on Twitter a couple of days ago, and we are about to review it. So let's go ahead and get started. So, starting with the first thing, Guff Rune Totem, who potentially was the worst hero in Battlegrounds and recently got an update to 20 armor, is now going down to 10 armor, but they are changing his hero power. The old hero power was give a friendly minion of each tier +2/+2, and it cost 2 gold. Now it is give 1 gold, or excuse me, for 1 gold, you can give a friendly minion of each tier +2/+1. And now we're moving down. There are going to be a few minion pool changes and spells as well. Starting with the uninvited guest, that was the new tier 6 undead, has been removed, as well as Thorncaller, which was the tier 2 Death Rattle Quillbore that gave you a blood gem, and Sacred Gift, which was the tier 6 cost spell that gave a minion Divine Shield. And coming back, we have the tier 2 Hummingbird that gave your beast +2/+2 during combat. Prophet of the Boar, which is a taunt minion on tier 2 that when you play a Quillbore, you get a blood gem. So now you could cycle out your Quillbore and get extra blood gems in the process. Then you have the Scarlet Skull, which was the tier 2 undead. That was a Death Rattle Reborn minion that would give another undead +1/+1. Then you have Sister Death Whisper, who is back on tier 6. She was the undead that was removed at the end of season 5. And whenever a minion on your board reborns, then she gives buffs to all of the undead. And the Cloning Conch is back. The Cloning Conch was the spell that would give you a copy of another Murloc in your hand. And let's go ahead and review the card changes. Rylak Metalhead would trigger the battle cries of adjacent minions on a death rattle. Now, triggers the battle cry of the minion to the left of this. When it is golden, it will trigger both adjacent minions. Then you have your Gold Shell Warden. That's a tier 4 Battlecry Beast that gave your beast +1/+4, now gives your other beast +2/+4. The Iridescent Skyblazer, that was sort of the trailblazer of the beasts, now has moved to tier 5 and is a 3/8 and gives another friendly beast other than it +1/+1 permanently whenever a friendly beast takes damage. Trigor the Lasher has been moved from tier 5 to tier 4 and is now an 8/3, but whenever another friendly beast takes damage, it gains +1 health permanently. Previously, it gained +2 health and was on tier 5. This is sort of a great change because Trigor the Lasher felt like if you discovered him too late in the game while you already have your beast board built up, he really wasn't needed. But now you can find him on tier 4, and then now the best way to transition a beast is if you find the Iridescent Skyblazer on tier 5. Next, we have the Mechanized Gift Horse that was a tier 5 minion, has now been moved down to tier 4. The Spiked Savior was deal 1 damage to your minions and give them +1 health. Is now a death rattle of give your minions +1 health first and then deal 1 damage to them. This definitely helps because there could have been some minions that were reborn and would die first and not get that +1 health. Octosari, the Rap God, used to summon a 2/2 tentacle that gained +2/+2 permanently after you summon a minion in combat. Now, the tentacle starts at 8/8 and gains +2/+2 permanently after you summon a minion in combat. Goldrin, still kind of disappointing to the beasts, was a 3/3 death rattle and gave your beast +3/+3 for the rest of the combat. Now, for the rest of the combat, your beasts have +4/+4. kind of not the buff we were looking for. We were kind of hoping that, all of these beasts gain their stats by taking damage during combat. Hopefully, we were kind of hoping that Goldren would give those stats to the beast permanently for him to be useful, but now he's sort of a crutch. Your Fiery Fellblood was a 4/3 death rattle that would give minions in the tavern +3 attack for the rest of the game, has now been changed to a 3/2 and giving minions in the tavern +2 attack, which is also kind of great, so it prevents your minions from becoming glass cannons and slowly building the stats in the tavern. Backstage Security on Tier 1, that was a 4/4, has now been made a 4/5. Wrath Weaver was 1/4, is now a 1/3. The Crafty Aranasi was a 1/8, is now a 3/10, and still on Tier 4. The False Implicator was a 1/2, is now a 1/1, which is great, honestly, because if you discovered False Implicator like on turn 4 or turn 5, then it was being boosted the rest of the game. So now that it has some new kind of, a 1/1 stat is actually better for it in a way, so it doesn't start steamrolling your opponents too early. Misfit Dragonling was a 1/2, is now a 2/1. It still gains stats equal to your tier at the start of combat. Blazing Skyfin, that was a 1/3, is now a 2/4. The Electric Synthesizer, that was a 4/3, is now a 3/3, but still gives the other dragons +3/+1. Draconic Death Scale, which was easily one of the most broken cards, has been moved from Tier 4 to Tier 5. Changed from a 6/3 to an 8/3. Calic Ghosts, the Arcane Aspect, we were hoping more of a buff that it would give so he would be more viable at this point whenever a battle cry is triggered, but he just had an attack and health update from a 2/10 to a 4/12. Molten Rock, that was previously a 3/1, is now a 3/2. Party Elemental, that was a 3/2, is now a 4/2. Crackling Cyclone from 3/1 to 4/1. These are just some stat updates. Now, the Wildfire Elemental has been moved from Tier 4 to Tier 3, but takes a hit in attack and health from going from 8/4 to 6/3. The Recycling Wraith, that was perfect on Tier 3, has now been moved to Tier 4, and moved from a 4/2 minion to a 5/4. Landlubber just got a buff in stats from 4/5 to 5/7. It's still on Tier 4. Ziliax, whenever tripled, used to be a 4/3, is now a 3/4. Or all of the modules, excuse me. So then once it is assembled, it is a 6/8. The Scrap Scraper was a 6/5, is now a 5/5. And Battle Cry and Death Rattle. So, mechs finally have a Battle Cry minion in the tavern. Utility Drone, that used to be a 3/4, would give your minions +1/+1 for their magnetizations. The new 4/4 gives your minions +2/+1 for each magnetization that they have. The Augmented Laborer, that was a 1/6, has now been buffed to a 3/8. It's still an Avenge 4 on Tier 5. Charging Zarina went from 4/2 to 5/3, and instead of giving your minions +3 attack with Divine Shield whenever you cast a spell, will now only give them +2 attack. The Very Hungry Winter Finner, that was a +1/+1, that would give a +1/+1 buff to minions in your hand whenever it took damage, now gives your minions in your hand a +2/+1. The Murgle Mark II used to be a 2/4 Avenge 3, is now a 2/4 Avenge 4, but still gives minions in your hand and board +1/+1 permanently. Bream Counter used to be a 6/6 and would give it a +2/+2 buff after you play a Murloc while it is in your hand. Now it is a 5/5, and you gain +3/+2 when you play a Murloc while it is in your hand. Magmaloc did not have any effect changes, but moved from Tier 5 to Tier 4. The Primal Fin Lookout went from Tier 4 to Tier 5 and still has the same battle cry effect. The Gladiator, that used to be a 1/1 that you would get +1 attack whenever you cast a spell, is now a 3/3. The Deep Blue Crooner has been moved from Tier 4 to Tier 3 as a 4/4 instead of a 2/2. And the Zesty Shaker went from Tier 3 to Tier 4. The Defiant Shipwright, which is a new minion, went from 2/4 to 2/5. The Time Captain Hooktail went from 1/5 to 2/5. The Record Smuggler, that would you at the start of your turn would gain 1 gold, repeating for each pirate, is now a 6/6 at the start of your turn, gain 2 gold. If you control at least 3 pirates, gain 2 more. So that is a big nerf for Record Smuggler. The Gem Smuggler, that was a Tier 5 4/3 that would play 2 blood gems on all your minions with its battle cry, is now a Tier 4 3/4 that would only play 1 blood gem on all your minions. So, kind of a buff nerf. The Harmless Bonehead on Tier 1 goes from 0/2 to 1/1. So now it will potentially, if you are playing Inzoth and choose this as your starting minion along with the fish, then it now has a chance to proc. The Hateful Hag, that was a 4/2, is now a 6/2. The effect remains the same, it just got a stat buff. The Hungering Abomination still has the same effect of gaining +1/+1 permanently each time a minion dies, is now a 6/7. Morose, the Steward of Death, got a nerf that was a giving your undead +2/+5. Is now a 4/2 reborn that will give your undead +2/+4. Fire Dancer just got 1 buff and attack from 4/2 to 5/2. Winged Chimera used to be a 3/6, is now a 1/5. And whenever it took damage, you gave a friendly minion of each type +2/+1. Now, you give a friendly minion of each type +1/+1 permanently, but only 3 times per combat. The Ensorcelled Fungus, that was gone but not forgotten. Well, felt like it was gone, even though it was still there. Nobody really played him anymore. Used to get +1/+2 for each tavern spell you've casted that game, now gets +2/+2 for each tavern spell you've casted during the game. The Unforgiving Treant was a 2/12 that would give your minions +1 attack permanently whenever it took damage. Now it is a 3/12 and gives your minions +2 attack permanently. Then you have Nala the Redeemer, that was a 5/7, and whenever you casted a tavern spell, give a friendly minion of each type +2/+1. Is now a 5/6, and you give a friendly minion of each type +2/+2 when you cast a spell. Greymane's Champion, which has been dominating the Battlegrounds the past couple of weeks. It was a 6/5 minion. Whenever you played an even tiered card, give your other even tier minions +2/+2. Now, after you play an even tiered card, give your other even tier minions +1/+1. So that is a pretty big nerf. And the Moon Eater's Champion, after you played an odd tier card, give your other odd tier minions +1/+1. The other ones. Now it is after you play an odd tier card, give your odd tier minions +1/+1. So now Moon Eater's Champion is included. Then you have the Corrupted Cupcakes that just went from 3 gold to 4 gold now. Them Apples. That was a very strong tier 1 spell that would give you some early game tempo. Went from being +1/+3 to the minions in the tavern to a +1/+2. The Boon of Beetles has been moved from Tier 3 to Tier 4, and it would summon a 3/3 beetle with taunt for left. So you get an extra beetle, and they now have taunt. Your Suspicious Stimulant has moved from Tier 3 costing 3 gold to Tier 4 costing 4 gold. Scavenge for Parts, at the end of your turn, you would get a random magnetic minion lasting 3 turns, went from 4 gold to now costing 2 gold. And then here's the update for the Cloning Conch. the old one was get a copy of a non-golden Murloc in your hand. Now it is a tier 5 4-cost spell that you get a random Murloc and a copy of it. And now moving on to the duos changes. Your passenger, that was a 2/3 that you got +2/+2 each time your team passes. Now is a 2/2 the first time your team passes each turn, you get +1/+2. So there's a little bit of a nerf there. The generous Geomancer is going from 2/1 to 1/1, but you and your teammate both get a blood gem still. The Orchestra Conductor would give a minion +2/+2 and improve your team's future orchestra conductors. Is now +2/+1 and upgraded for each orchestra conductor your team has played this game. So you can no longer milk it with a reborn Rylak. Magnanimous has no text change, but now only summons up to one copy of each of your teammates' minions. The Puddle Prancer, that after it was passed it would gain +3/+3, now gains +4/+4. The Minari Messenger, that was an old 7/4 Battlecry minions in your team's taverns, which is you and your duo partner, would have +2/+1 this game, has been changed to +1/+1. Catch would give your minions +3 attack, upgrading by +3 attack after it is passed. Now gives your minions +2 attack and upgrades by +2 attack after it is passed. And there are some bug fixes and game improvements. And I'm just going to pause for a second for everyone to read those. And that is it for the 29.2.2 patch updates. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Thank you.